So I'm very grateful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that I am in a position to be able to dedicate this learning at Alshech for my grandmother and my aunt. My grandmother's name is Rachel. We called her Rosie. I called her Grandma. Most people called her Rosie. And my aunt's name was Eve or Chava.
What about her?
Anyway, so I wanted to start with telling you a little about my grandma. She was from Romania. I think her family was from Belarus, but she was born in Romania in the late 1800s. She was the oldest of 7, and she raised her youngest sister, who was 18 years younger, because the mother died when she was 40, and the sister was just a baby. So she not only raised that sister, she wound up really doing kiruv with the whole family of her siblings and the extended family. She worked, she sewed, she was a professional seamstress, and she started out as an apprentice, just sweeping the threads off the floor, and worked her way up to being a very good seamstress. She made all the clothes for our family, but she also made clothes for other people. And 73 years ago, she made this for me. I still wear it. It was to the floor at that time, but now it's mid-thigh. But she added all the little trimming. She didn't just sew something, she embellished it. And the bottom has another heart on it. And her youngest daughter had an apron just like it, but her size. Yeah. So I still wear it when I cook for Shabbos.
Thank you, Tzipora. May the souls rest in peace, B'ezras Hashem.
Amen. Amen. So her yard site was the 25th of Teves, and my aunt's is the 11th of Shvat. They both died in January on the calendar and the other Gregorian calendar. So my grandma was a no frills. No, she was very machmir. She was always doing something. This is a picture of her. And
Can
you bring that? So that
she had the family and all my cousins over every Shabbos, every Jewish holiday and every American holiday, every birthday and every anniversary, which means we were there 3 to 4 times a week. And she set the rules for how we would behave. And one of the things that was essential was that we did not watch TV on Shabbos. And that was our pattern, was watching TV and cartoons. But when we were at her house, we learned to play games with each other, and we actually brought out each other's personalities and talents, and we often had little productions, singing for the adults, etc. But because of that, we bonded, and our family is our support network. It's our built-in friends that we have, and we wouldn't have had that if it weren't for her. And she and her husband had a difficult marriage, but she stayed with it, and she stayed with it, which created the dynasty for all of us. Now there's probably 35 of us that are very close friends, because she put her family before she put her own comfort. She always sent mandlin with me. Mandlin is little soup nuts, like the shkidia, marak, but they were slightly bigger. She made them by hand, and she put them in a brown paper sack, like you would get a popcorn size. But wherever I went on a trip she always sent me with Madeline, and I shared it with everybody that was around me, who was sitting around me. And it was a great conversation breaker. And I enjoyed it. I still, to this day, really treasure Madeline. And when I can, I make containers of it like other people make cookies and send it to my cousins. She disparaged glamour, and she was the perfect image for my Yiddish mama. Her jewels and her treasures were all of her children's smiles. So I think that's all I want to say. She donated a lot to Talshet Yeshiva in Cleveland. She donated to a lot of things, but that very regularly. Her mother was very educated in Hebrew and Yiddishkeit, when most of her friends only spoke Yiddish. Her mother knew the Hebrew and went to the cemetery and did the prayers for people who couldn't do them themselves in Hebrew. So, okay, I think I'm done with my grandma, but if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be who I am now, for sure. Oh, one more, P.S. She insisted that her children all learn to play the piano. My mom took lessons for 10 years and spent a lot of time practicing, but she became a consummate pianist. And whenever a famous musician or singer came to town, they called my mom to accompany them. And my mom became the Sunday school pianist that played the songs. And from that, I learned the song for Hatikva. When I was a kid, they hadn't yet adopted a national anthem. It took them a couple years to adopt Hatikva. So my first year in Sunday school, my mom played it on the piano, and everybody sang along. And I asked, what does that mean? And she explained to me that it means that in every Jewish heart, there's a longing to go back to the East, to be in your own home, to be in a land that's free, and where we are free. And that resonated with me, and that's why I'm in Israel now, is because I heard that Hatikva song in 1950 or 1949, somewhere around then.
So if she was to grace us with her presence today, what message would she give the Jewish people today?
She would stay true to who you are, and don't get too caught up in the glamour of things. Just stay focused. Keep producing. Don't spend your time shopping.
Well, they both have an aliyah, and thank you so much for coming and sharing those beautiful
Can I
thoughts
say
with us.
something about my aunt?
Yes, of course.
Oh, okay. So this is a picture of my aunt. Her name is Eve Evanson Burke. And this poem that's underneath was a poem that she gave to my grandmother, whom we just talked about. And it says, and they had my grandma's picture in here, but my cousin, the daughter of my aunt, took that same picture and put her mother's picture in it.
Oh.
And my aunt was born in 1925. This was probably given over 1936, so that's the way they talked then. So here's what they said. Whose love can equal the love of a mother? Whose the devotion so loyal and true? Who suffers so much with such joy for another? Who works with such pleasure as mother for you? You had with delight the friendship of others. You revel in the love of the sweetheart you've won. But where do you find a friendship like mother's, unbroken till death calls and life's work is done? So that was from my aunt to my grandmother. And now I have it in this little frame so I can have it with my for my memory of my aunt. My aunt was my guardian angel, and she was my designated godmother when I was born. She was the only one in our family. We had a good family, but she was the only one who really deeply felt the pain of others. And if somebody was suffering, she wasn't going to go out and play mahjong or do other recreational things. She suffered with them. She didn't just say, oh, they're suffering. she suffered with them. I had a distant cousin whose both parents died when he was young. At 9, his mother died, his father died when he was 5. And she adopted that cousin. She didn't have to, could have gone to an orphanage or something, but she adopted him, and through him she had grandchildren, otherwise she wouldn't have had. She had 2 children of her own who had no children. She didn't get to go to college. My mother was the oldest, and she got 1 year of college, and her brother, who would be a breadwinner, got to go to 4 years of college, and then my aunt, there was no more money left for my aunt to go to college. And so anyway, at that time, women were basically homemakers in the culture we were in. And my aunt was a very good homemaker. It was wonderful to be there, and we had some holidays at her house, and she made extremely good Swedish meatballs and chopped liver. Those were her specialties. But in addition, she went to work. So she did it all. She did the work and the homemaking, and she rose up to be head of the office where all the taxes for our county came in, and she was accountable every day for millions of dollars that were being brought in, and she had to stay till every penny matched. Sometimes it took a few hours, but she was the one who did all the accounting. She was a homemaker, a provider, and she was a goodwill ambassador for the Jews amongst those who were in politics, because she was in with the political party collecting the taxes for the county. And they all became her friends. They appreciated her. On 2 occasions, she saved me from being beaten up. It was very important. If she wasn't there, I don't know what would happen. Everybody else just stood by, but my aunt came in and intervened between the person who was attacking and me, and was willing to deflect the pain I would have had. And she also had a forgiving nature. She really didn't like animals too much, but my cousin whom she adopted, when he had his bar mitzvah, he wanted a snake. So I went out and bought the snake and brought it to their house. And she was a very good sport about it. I know she didn't want that snake, but the snake lived in the house for like 2-3 years. So that's what I can say about my aunt. She was a wonderful human being, and she mothered me as much or more than my own mother did.
Beautiful.
And her name was Eve.
Beautiful. May they both have an aliyah. And thank you for sharing that with us.
You're
And
welcome.
thank you for supporting the Alshech Academy. And may you continue to get lots of nachat from it.
Thank
And,
you. Amen.
Look forward to seeing you very soon.